Welcome back, everyone, to NeuroAlchemy, a neurosynergy podcast where we explore healing as a multidimensional, nonlinear journey held gently, slowly, and with deep respect for sensitive and overwhelmed listeners. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Young. Here on NeuroAlchemy, we move intentionally. We slow things down and we define every term as if you're hearing it for the very first time. Because clarity creates safety, and safety opens the door to more healing possibilities. Today's conversation includes themes related to motherhood, burnout, emotional load, and nervous system overwhelm. If any of that feels close to home, you're invited to listen with care. You can pause, you can come back later. Nothing here requires pushing. Please, everyone, use this opportunity to take a breath. You are not behind. Today, I'm joined by Michele Akester-Marsh, and I'm really grateful to welcome her to NeuroAlchemy. Michele is the founder of Unshakable Mama, and she supports ambitious, life-loving, working moms who often look like they're holding it all together on the outside, but feel exhausted, resentful, or disconnected on the inside. Her work centers on nervous system regulation, identity, joy, and the power of micro moments to help mothers reclaim presence, self-trust, and agency within real demanding lives. What I appreciate about Michele's approach is that it doesn't ask mothers to become someone else. It meets them where they are and offers practical, humane ways to soften the load. Michele, I'm really, really glad you're here. Welcome to NeuroAlchemy.
Thanks for having me. I love your introduction. I was just nodding along. It just feels so close to my heart.
Well, that's so wonderful. Before we move further into the conversation, I'd like to begin by helping us arrive together. Michele, how are you arriving today? This can be physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, spiritually, or a little bit of all of it, because that's who we are, right? As we experience life multidimensionally.
I'm arriving on a high after a really challenging week. Challenging week with regards to family and a bit of juggling around emotional support. And actually my son, he cracked his rib at the weekend. So he's been in a lot of pain. So homeschooling and getting into school and all sorts. So it's been quite a juggle. So lots of the practices that I teach, I have really been honoring myself this week. Thank you for asking that question. That was really lovely.
Absolutely. It sounds like you're in a growing period. That's where lots of growth happens, is when we're in the thick of everything all at the same time is flying around and we can't see the forest all the time for the trees. And good on you for, being that example of what you teach others to do. So good on you for that.
Thank you.
And for everyone out there, there's no right way to arrive here, right? However, you're showing up today is enough. Before we step into your story, Michele, I'd love to help orient our listeners. You use language in your work that resonates deeply with mothers, but may be new for some people. So let's define a few ideas gently and clearly. First, the good mom myth. What is it? And how does it quietly shape expectations and self-judgment?
The good mum myth is based on the fact that societally we have to fit into a box. We're expected to be a certain way. There's lots of shoulds, and we're constantly living in this fear of being judged and criticized. And quite often we are judged and criticized. So the good mum myth is a myth that we really don't need to fit in a box. We can absolutely be who we want to be. I have a real bee in my bonnet about how feminism's backfired and all it's done is overload the working mum, because we fought for it all. We fought to have it all, but the reality is that society didn't shift with us. The economics didn't shift with us, and it has left us carrying an awful lot. And many mums feel unsupported in their role as mums. And that's what I support mums with, is to feel more supported, feel calmer, more in control, if you like. But it's actually less about control. It's more about surrender. That's another another thing. So yeah, the good mum myth is literally just becoming who you are underneath the stress, the roles, and the expectations, and not listening to what society says you should be or do.
That's really beautiful. It sounds like you help people drop expectations that aren't serving their growth and upliftment, and you guide them into a space where they can be authentic with who they really are underneath all of that. So, thank you so much for that. You also talk about high functioning burnout. What does that look like in real life?
High functioning burnout is where we are in a constant state of go, go, go mode. We're constantly busy and not creating the space, even though sometimes we want our lives to be more spacious, slow down. We feel like we don't have time as working mums to fit everything in. We want more hours in the day. So it's about like working harder and harder and harder to try and tick everything off the list, achieve more, feel accomplished, but actually the to-do list never ends. And that is the brutal truth. It will never, ever end. There will always be something else, something unexpected that comes up, such as my son's cracked rib to navigate as a family. And, there's always something. So it's about, yeah, helping us not feel so overloaded that we literally just can't function anymore.
You're absolutely right. There will always be more as long as we are alive and on the physical realm. There's always going to be another thing, another interruption. And I love that. You're not suggesting to just disregard everything, but work within the flow of what that is and acknowledging that, hey, there's always going to be more. So we can't use the more, right, as an excuse to not take care of ourselves in the way that supports us ultimately. Michelle, then there's invisible labor. How do you define that? And what does it matter? Why does it matter so much for nervous system health?
The invisible labor takes me back to what I said before about this feeling that we are overloaded and unsupported. There are a lot of hidden expectations on mums, and we just get on with it. We are the ones who just get on with the school run, just get on with the washing, just sort the menu out, just to go and pick the kids up from school when they're sick, or all the school admin. Plus, we see the dust and the dirt and the floor that needs sweeping up because the kids and the husband or yourself has dragged mud through the house or whatever. And it's just all those tiny, tiny little things. It could be so tiny, but it does keep us in that state of go, go, go. And it keeps us feeling that there's, always things that we should be doing and that we don't deserve to have that break again because we haven't finished everything. So yeah, the good news is that with boundaries, we can start to alleviate that resentment and frustration around invisible labor, and start to push back and start to create more teamwork in the home. But yeah, we have to choose it. We have to choose to say no.
Absolutely. And I don't know about you, but I think that we're not kind of geared toward boundaries being really a natural thing, right? Societal pressures and expectations often center around pleasing others, even when it's not in alignment with truth, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
often that can be very conflicting with boundary work because we have to honor ourselves in a different way, a way that represents authenticity and truth. You also talk about micro moments. What are they? And why are they more realistic and powerful than big self care plans?
Well, micro moments are the life saving techniques that I've used, my clients use. Back in the day where I just felt like I didn't have time for anything that I wanted to do for myself, I used to go to regular massages or go to do hour-long massage yoga classes and things. And all of that stopped when I became a mum because my boys needed me. So I started looking at, well, I can't do that anymore. I need more. I need more for myself. I need more peace. I need more joy. I need to feel like I am living my life, not just running on autopilot. So the micro moments are the things I started to do in the small, tiny pockets of time that I had available. So it was as simple as if I couldn't do an hour of yoga, I'd do 5 minutes of yoga before the boys were up. I'd literally drag myself out of bed on straight, next to the bed, do my yoga practices, or I'd sit in bed journaling, or I would take 3 deep breaths because the boys are bickering at breakfast time on a school morning. Or I would have a peppermint tea in the mornings to get the digestion going, because I found that kind of cleared my head and, less brain fog. And it's the tiny little things that we have power over in our days that accumulate. They have a snowball effect and they become habit. And before you know it, you look back and you're like, oh, wow, actually, life is really good. Life is really happening for me. It's not all that bad after all.
And finally, your calm method. What does calm stand for, and how does it support regulation and resilience?
Okay, well, the calm method is the method that I've devised in order to sort of package up my experience, my life experience, if you like. So my work is the Unshakable Mama. That's the name of my offering to my ladies, my clients. And we use a framework called the calm method, which is about the pillar one is connect. And that is all about connecting and gaining clarity on what you want in life. Are your priorities and desires? What really lights you up? And we're talking the day-to-day stuff, but also, the whole lifetime. But, some people like to start really small and some people like to start bigger. It's just, whatever it is. And then the second pillar is align, which is all about setting those boundaries and to protect your time and energy and finances. You start to introduce and integrate more of those things that you want in your days. That if those things that you want become your non-negotiables in life, how can you start to integrate them? What can you do in your days to make them happen as a new standard? And then the third pillar is liberate, and that is all around the nervous system regulation, emotional regulation, using a gratitude mindset and using those micro moments, those 2-minute, 10-second to 2-minute reset tools in order to bring you back to a state of calm, to change your state of mind when you need to. And we practice constantly throughout in order so they become second nature, really. We practice even on the good days. So when things really go wrong, they just become second nature, that you kind of have a toolbox, a subconscious toolbox to call upon. And then the fourth pillar is manifest, which is about taking aligned action steps towards what it is you want, towards those things that light you up, intentional, conscious, mindful choices. And that's the step, that's deliberately the last step to manifesting what it is that you want, because unless you know what you want, it sounds really obvious, but believe it or not, lots of people don't actually know what they want, or they don't give themselves permission to actually go after it. It just becomes like this floaty dream around in the head. So unless you know what you want, unless you've got the boundaries in place, unless you are in a relaxed, calm state of mind, nervous system, not living constantly in fight flight, you can't see new perspectives and you can't see solutions to what it is that you want. So only when you can see the solutions and the new perspectives, new angles, new possibilities, can you then know what action to take. So yeah, connect, align, liberate, and manifest.
Thank you for grounding that for us. That context matters. I'd love to begin with your own story. What was happening in your life that led you to question the good mom narrative and begin working with the nervous system instead of against it?
Well, it was purely an accident, really. I mean, I've got 20 years of holistic therapy experience. My background is in massage. I've since gone into meditation, mindfulness, life coaching. And I knew all these things, but I wasn't practicing what I preach at all. So I was a really good therapist and I was giving out the home care advice and all of that. There was a lot of stuff happening in our lives. I'm married. I've got been married for 15 years, got 2 boys, 13 and 9. And we had so many challenges. We were doing house renovations, fell out with our neighbours, in committees, death, all sorts in the family, and financial problems, you name it, we were dealing with it. And I literally just got to a point where, as I said, my life just didn't feel like it was mine. I just felt like I was going through the motions. And I remember chatting to a friend one day on the phone, and I said, I just wish I could feel calmer. I wish that I could regulate my own nervous system. And that's when I sort of started doing the short and sweet, like the micro moment practices. And it just made the world of difference. Not immediately, but as I said, it's a practice. It's a constant practice. It's a lifestyle choice in order to choose yourself every day and in order to want more peace, more calm, more joy, more of whatever it is you want, and not feel ungrateful for the life that you've already got, because my life was really amazing on paper, but there was so much missing and I was frustrated that I felt I should be living this life by the age I was, but it hadn't happened yet.
What did motherhood reveal about your identity, capacity, or boundaries?
Wow. So much that I'm so capable of many, many things. Yeah, I really do have to honor my time, my energy, my capacity all the time. I honestly used to go through life feeling like I could do it all. I remember there was a time when I offered to help my in-laws with something and they said, no. And they said, it's fine. You've got too much on. I said, no, honestly, I can do it. I can do it, everything. But the thing is, at what cost? Mine. The cost to my own mental well-being, my, physical health and well-being. And I kind of forgotten the question now, but I got off on a tangent, but raw and
No,
real. There we
you
go.
are great. You are great. I mean, the question, you answered it perfectly. It was just asking how motherhood revealed your
Yeah.
identity, your capacity, and your boundaries. And I think all of the above, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned as well right at the beginning that me being in a period of growth. And I believe that we are constantly in a period of growth. Like I very much believe in expansion and liberation over allowing ourselves to suffocate and stagnate, which is what a lot of people do. They allow themselves to. Whereas for me, I realized how much experience I want from life. I've always been like that, but as a mom, different kind of experiences, different reasons, just making them happen, not just for me, but for the family.
Absolutely. I really feel that if I'm doing my life correctly the way that I intend to do it, then I should always be evolving. I should always be expanding. And I should always keep my awareness on where those places of contraction are,
Yeah.
because a lot of things start with, awareness, and that's how we can move into a more expansive state. Michelle, modern motherhood carries an enormous cognitive and emotional load. From your perspective, how does the nervous system respond to constant responsibility, interruption, and expectation?
Eventually, it just stops you being able to function. Like, we are so capable. We really, really are so capable, but there is a limit and we can do it all, which is what feminism has promised us. Like, we can work and have a family and run a home and earn good money and all of that. But we can't actually do it all at once, or not without oodles and oodles of support. And that's the thing. So yeah, it's gone off on a tangent again.
No, not at all. I disagree with you. I think that it's all perfect and it's all right, exactly what we need to hear today. So, why do so many capable women feel like they're failing even when they're doing so much?
Because they are trying to do too much for too many people, trying to manage too much, trying to people please and second guess other people and worrying too much about what people might think of them. And we just get into this frenzy where yeah, we just can't function anymore.
Because we aren't actually superhuman, right, Michelle?
We're not. We live in this state where, everything has to be perfect. And I keep forgetting what I'm going to say about what I'm saying. But the thing is, I embrace imperfection. I embrace an advocate for raw and real. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to be this certain type of person. And we completely lose track of our soul. Like, what is our soul whispering to us when we're so caught up in all of the noise and the drama, everyone else's drama as well, when we really focus on what it is that we want, what we're here for. And then, the boundaries, nervous system regulation, everything. My gosh, it's going to change the world when everybody can understand this. And I really believe that, like as mothers, we are the ultimate role models to our children. Obviously, they have many role models, but our children live and breathe our energy every day. And when a mother is regulated, it stabilizes the whole household. And they then, like our children, they take that calm energy out into the wider world. Bullying incidents at school, like they can understand why people might be bullying. And so they will treat the bullies differently. They'll handle it differently. They'll keep their own energy pure and clean, if you like, and not get too stressed out about it, stay more regulated. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible, the ripple effect of this work.
You speak openly about identity loss and resentment cycles. How do those show up in high functioning mothers?
Well, we forget who we are. But again, because of the busyness, this cycle of overwhelm that we're constantly putting ourselves through, this constant striving and these expectations, this need for perfect, and we just erode our true selves over time. And
Why is resentment often a signal of nervous system depletion rather than a character flaw?
resentment is avoidable when you take leadership of your own life. Resentment isn't a character flaw. It is a circumstance. It's a symptom of your circumstances, that you're putting yourself under too much load. And we tend to resent things and people when we're not getting the desired outcome. But how can we get the desired outcome when we don't know what we want, or when we're not communicating, when we're not setting the boundaries? But it cannot, rewritten. Resentment is something that we can choose, like overwhelm. We can choose to make different choices to move through and process whatever it is that's causing us resentment. And I think of an example.
So it's like a signal. It's a
Yeah.
signal for us to, when we can become aware of it, maybe to redirect ourselves to make a different choice.
To reflect. And awareness. You mentioned awareness earlier, and awareness, it all starts with awareness. If we're not aware of how we feel, we can never make any change. So that's always like the first thing, like, how are we feeling? And, what is it we want? Yeah, it's the signal. It's your soul telling you to listen, to pause, to take a break. We don't need to feel guilty for taking a break. We need to take a break.
Absolutely. Let's talk more about your calm method. How does it help women regulate without needing more time, more effort, or more perfection?
Because it's all based on short and sweet and micro moments. Again, it's a lifestyle choice. So it is all based on like this awareness of like, how am I feeling and what do I want? And it's based on micro moments. We don't need to spend a lot of time doing it. And we can practice when we're sat at the traffic lights. We're stressed out because we're running late, and so we take a few deep breaths at traffic lights. We can have a quick dance while we're cleaning our teeth because the kids have stressed us out a bit, and we want to calm ourselves and our nervous systems before we leave the house for the day. And it's literally just making use of those tiny little pockets of time. So, we all like to multitask. Mums like to multitask. We can't actually multitask. It's like not possible, but we can, there are things that we can do. So, for example, I often have a dance when I'm waiting for the kettle to boil. And yeah, it's just basically just, finding moments of joy to feel calm again, even amidst the chaos.
You emphasize that micro moments matter. What are some examples of micro moments that can genuinely shift a mother's internal state?
Oh, I just mentioned a few. I mentioned a few actually already, but this is where I have so many. I don't know where to start. Dancing is always one of my favorites, even if it's only for a couple of seconds, even if it's an impromptu kitchen disco while you're cooking tea. It can be maybe just checking in with yourself when you're last thing at night, when you're when you're just drifting off to sleep, rather than beating yourself up over what you haven't done today, ask yourself, well, what have I done? What have I done? And even those silly things like, well, I fed the cat and I took the dog for a walk and I emptied the dishwasher. And there's a lot of belief, a lot of unlearning and deconditioning as well. And when we're using these micro moments, we start to realize that we are actually winning in life. And that, we we don't need to beat ourselves up so much. We're constantly like deconditioning and removing these expectations on us from others and ourselves. And to be honest, a lot of the time it's actually on ourselves more than it is on others. There's a lot of need for control, whereas it is the surrender. So these micro moments help us to learn how to surrender to the chaos. Our other micro moments, yeah,
How do
movement.
th- how do these small moments rebuild trust with the body and the self?
Well, I believe, like, take mindful movement for example. That's one of the nervous system practices that I teach. So I've got mindfulness movement, mindful breath, plus we journal affirmations as well, and also like mindset shifting too. So taking mindful movement, when we're moving our bodies, it takes us out of that thought process of, "Oh, I should be doing this," or, "Oh, I can't do that," or, "But I haven't done that." And it actually syncs us. It connects mind, body, soul. When you're actually moving your body, you're thinking more about the movement than you are about, well, you're focusing, I should say, on the movement rather than thinking. That's a better way of putting it. Yeah. So every time we're hearing and practicing a mindfulness practice, for example, so I don't know, as we're going about our day, just focus on the things that are blue, and it kind of, you're constantly thinking about that, and you're putting your focus, intention, sorry, and energy elsewhere, and it's really, really soothing for the whole system, because you stop overthinking about the things that are going wrong.
One of the biggest barriers mothers face is often time. How do you help women create space when their lives already feel full?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is a big one. This is like, how do you create how do you create time and you've got no time? When I talk about this, no one believes me that it's possible. 'Cause, initially, but the thing is, when we're practicing the micro moments, the nervous system resets, we're still focusing on what it is that we want. We're setting those boundaries. We're constantly creating space. So we're constantly like, and intentionally focusing on the things that are going to light us up. And when we're focusing on those things, time expands, because we're not focusing just on the urgent things, which keeps us in that state of fight flight, 'cause that firefighting state. We're actually focusing on the things that really matter to us. And when we're doing more of what we want, what we really enjoy, what brings us joy, time and money actually expands. It's an energetic exchange. It's like, well, I am going to believe and trust that there is more time available to me. I just need to start focusing on the right things.
What shifts when self leadership replaces self sacrifice?
Well, everything, literally everything, from for yourself and for your family. I've talked about the ripple effect. For me personally, what's shifted is, well, to start with, my relationships in my home. The fact that I feel so much better supported by my husband, because I can express what I need and what I want, by my children. Like, I don't stand for nonsense, but at the same time, I'm not an ogre who's shouting demands all the time. I ask in a very aligned, kind, compassionate way that, well, actually, I would appreciate it if you could empty the dishwasher, like now, or take your washing and put it in the washing basket so I don't have to do it. So why should I deal with their dirty washing? And it's about just being really honest about your non-negotiables. And so then the teamwork in the home improves. And I have, as a result of being so clear on what it is that I want, I'm able to bring more and more and more of what I want in. Probably like the best example of recent times is that my husband and I manifested a dream move from 600 miles from the southeast of the south coast of England to northeast Scotland, which we didn't know how it was ever going to happen. And in my head, it was going to happen a particular way. But the more I relaxed and focused on the goal, what it was, the more my inner guidance told me that I had to do it this way. It told me that we had to put the house on the market and move, and we had to do it now, kind of thing. And the more you lead your life, the more you can trust your intuition. And that means that the less you have to rely on other people and external things for validation, the less you worry about what other people think of you. Goodness me, how long have we got? Because I could go on. Everything changes.
You're also contributing to a broader shift in how we understand feminism, motherhood, and self leadership. What does a healthier paradigm look like to you?
My absolute vision, I'm a real visionary. I see a world where there is complete equality in the world, men and women. Obviously, there's still, like biological influences, women having babies and things like that. But the thing is, I really see a world where, well, I'll give an example. Okay. So the more I've chosen myself, the more I've noticed that ripple effect for my husband as well, because he is a very hard worker. He's very dedicated to his work. He is employed, not self-employed like me. And he's a really good, like alpha male, like provider. And he has this huge weight of responsibility on his shoulders of financial pressure to provide for the family. And I've seen the shift in him that he's able to relax more. He's not as stressed as he used to be. And I just want to keep expanding on that within the home. And eventually I see that as society, there'll be a lot more harmony. I don't like the word balance because balance implies that it always has to be, you know, equal. There's harmony. Like sometimes you have to work harder, sometimes, or more hours, sometimes you work less hours, and it's about the flow. It's about the flow. So, for example, with me, yes, I've felt really overloaded and resentful in the times because I want to be working, I want to be growing my business, and I'm having to stop and start with, school holidays and things. And that's been really hard for me. But over the years, I've navigated that and I've come to a place of peace with that. And looking back, I've realized how much fun I've had with my boys, how many memories we've made, whereas my husband hasn't had any of that because he's been at work being the provider. And so I have this dream for women to receive more financial freedom, financial independence, to sort of shift the status quo of the whole family unit. And it has to start somewhere. And I'm choosing for it to start with working mums because that's what I know. That's who I am. It's what I understand.
That's beautiful. I have an opening for you. Up until now, we were calling it a listener challenge. And as of this week, we're shifting the language to a listener invitation. And if you could offer our listeners an invitation for a simple practice, a micro practice that they can give it a try every day over the next 7 days, what is going to be your invitation for the week?
I love this. And I've already offered a lot of different micro moments, but the one that has supported me so deeply right from the start when I decided I wanted to change, change my life. And it's so simple is as soon as your alarm goes off in the morning, thinking, oh no, the alarm's gone off. I've got to get up. How am I going to get through the day? Is ask yourself before you've even opened your eyes, how do I want to feel today? Like how do I feel right now? And how do I want to feel? And that sets a benchmark then for the day. And you can then check in with yourself at the end of the day and say, well, did I feel like I wanted to feel like like the intention I set this morning? If so, fabulous. If not, why not? What happened? Without judgment. But just, what could I have done differently today? What changes could I have made? Tweaks could I have made to my day? And then as you get more advanced in that, then you can ask yourself constantly, and it's about creating that sense of awareness, like we've talked about already. Because without awareness, it's very difficult to make the change that you desire in your life. So that is my invitation for the listeners today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. As we begin to close, what do you hope that mothers and listeners walk away with after hearing our conversation today?
I desire for mums to feel seen for all of the amazingness and the invisible labor. Like, I see you. I see it. I see you. And I hear you and I understand the struggles. And I just want you to know that you're not alone at all. Like, I speak to mum after mum after mum, and there are so many themes. It's like the same challenge, different day, same challenge, different circumstances. And there are themes, and you know, you're not broken at all. The system could do with a little bit of of an overhaul to support you better. But in the meantime, know how amazing you are. Know what an incredible job for want of a better word, job's probably not the job you're doing every single day. And know and trust that if you choose it, you can be whoever you want to be and live your absolute fullest life. Squeeze every drop of goodness from it.
Michele, thank you so much for bringing so much honesty, clarity, and compassion into this space. Your work is a powerful reminder that healing doesn't require doing more, it requires listening differently. Before we close, I want to name this. I never leave these conversations unchanged. There's always something I'm taking with me, something that I'll reflect on, and something that I'll continue to integrate after we stop recording. And if this episode resonated with you, please consider liking, sharing it and subscribing. That's how these conversations travel, and that's how they reach the people who need to hear them the most. For our listeners, if something softened, opened, or resonated, move gently with it. Healing unfolds in layers, and micro moments matter more than you know. Until next time, this is Dr. Sarah, and this is NeuroAlchemy. You're not failing. You are not behind. You are becoming. Until next time. Bye, everyone.